Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're taking this epic, zooming journey through a 10-part framework called the Architecture of Awareness. We're going to deconstruct the source material to help you discover what the author calls your human operating system. It's honestly an incredible roadmap for making sense of existence, and I am so excited to guide you through it. So let's jump right in. Okay, here's our blueprint for today. We're going to start with the foundation of reality, move into information and human awareness, explore our observable physical universe, check out the brain's biological interface, and then finally wrap up with designing your daily system. All right, Section 1, the foundation of reality, establishing the source. We're beginning at the absolute macro level here, where the author establishes the creator as the ultimate philosophical source of existence, purpose, and order in the universe. So this framework structures reality in these cascading layers. It suggests that before we can consciously design our lives or, make any purposeful decisions, we first have to understand the foundational reality where those lives are actually happening. It all flows from the ultimate source down into objective reality, which then feeds right into our subjective human experience and finally culminates in the decisions we make every single day. Now, there's a really crucial difference between those layers we just saw. On one side, we have objective reality. These are things that exist totally independent of our opinions. Think gravity, time, cause and effect. These are true whether you believe in them or not, right? But on the other side, we have subjective experience. This is your joy, your fear, your relationships, your identity. These are deeply, deeply real to you, but they are absolutely subjective. The framework points out that one of our biggest human mistakes is confusing the two. Basically, we confuse a factual event with the emotional story we tell ourselves about it. Which brings us to Section 2, Information and Human Awareness, the invisible mechanics. We've looked at reality, but how do we actually bridge that vast reality into our own minds? Well, according to the source material, the answer is through information and awareness. What's really fascinating here is how simply information is defined. It's just patterns that reduce uncertainty. And reality is constantly generating these patterns, whether we notice them or not. Think about the math in a symphony, the rings in a tree trunk, or the DNA packed inside a single cell. These are all physical encodings of information that are just continuously radiating through the universe. So the million-dollar question is how we process all that. Human awareness acts like this central processor, working its way up this pyramid. We take raw data from reality, organize it into information, connect it to form knowledge, and then recognize relationships to build understanding. But the absolute peak of this pyramid, that leap from understanding to wisdom, that's where the magic really happens. Transforming understanding into wisdom is what finally results in purposeful action. You aren't just some passive sponge soaking things up. You are an active meaning maker. Now, up to this point, the author has used mostly philosophical models, like the concept of an ultimate creator or abstract awareness planes, to map consciousness. But right here, we cross a critical boundary line. We're stepping out of those philosophical hypotheses and crossing firmly into the observable, scientifically measurable universe. And crossing that boundary brings us face to face with a stark, genuinely profound question that bridges physics and philosophy. How exactly does the physical space-time of our universe, made up of fundamental particles, actually give rise to your deeply personal, conscious human experience? Crazy to think about, right? To answer that, let's step into Section 3, our observable physical universe, the physical stage. The framework beautifully refers to this measurable physical space as our ultimate classroom and laboratory. I absolutely love this progression. Let's physically zoom in through the cosmic hierarchy of complexity. We scale all the way down from the billions of galaxies in the observable universe to our Milky Way, to our tiny blue planet, and finally down to you, sitting here right now, maybe drinking a cup of coffee. But it doesn't even stop there. It goes right down to the living cells and the very subatomic particles forging your body. Recognizing your exact place in the scale is just a massive exercise in both humility and connectedness. Now, check out what the author calls the universal principles engine. Look at how the rigid laws of physics perfectly mirror the systems we need for thoughtful human living. Gravity in physics keeps planets grounded, right? Well, in life, our commitments keep us grounded. The scientific law of emergence shows how complex structures arise from small parts, which is exactly how small daily actions build a complex, successful life. It basically shows that we can look to the fundamental laws of nature as a literal guide for personal growth. Because let's be real, we aren't just isolated observers standing outside of nature looking in. As the author notes, the same universe that formed the stars also formed the atoms within you. Life is not separate from the universe. It is one of its most extraordinary expressions. We are dynamic living systems built directly out of it. We are literally the universe continuously transforming energy into thought, creativity, and action. Moving on to Section 4, the brain's biological interface, the microprocessor. This zooms us all the way into the absolute micro level, the human brain. This is the exact geographical point where that vast external universe finally meets your internal subjective human experience. By carefully separating established neuroscience from metaphysics, the framework defines the brain simply and elegantly as your biological interface. And notice the phrasing there. It doesn't just passively store memories like some computer hard drive. It actively receives information, evaluates it, and organizes your lived reality so you can form an identity and actually participate in conscious experience. Your biological interface is constantly, and I mean simultaneously, running 6 major functions. It's always asking, what am I sensing? What do I know? What actually matters right now? What deserves my focus? What should I do? And how do I improve? The true magic underlying all of this is neuroplasticity. Because of how the brain learns, your repeated intentional actions actually reshape how these very networks connect. You are literally rewiring your own interface every single day based on what you choose to focus on. So, what does this actually mean for your Tuesday morning? Let's zoom into Section 5, designing your daily system. The human operating system. It is time to turn this massive cosmic architecture into a highly practical daily routine. The author suggests that before making major decisions in your life, you should view the world through this 3-lens observation method. First, the scientific lens grounds you in observable facts. The human lens reminds you to consider subjective experience and empathy. And finally, the systems lens forces you to look at the hidden network of causes and consequences. Using these 3 lenses stops you from just reacting blindly and really helps you separate actual facts from emotional assumptions. And the absolutely crucial point here is that you can actually measure and train your interface using a brain performance dashboard. You assess your current cognitive architecture, say maybe your attention is at a 6 out of 10, and you pair it with an actionable daily practice, like 45 minutes of distraction-free deep work. So this isn't just about reading philosophy, It's about setting real routines to expand your mental bandwidth and increase your capabilities. All of this culminates in a daily connection system. Your day begins with intention and gratitude in the morning, moves into focused action and service during the midday, and then ends with an honest reflection at night on your failures, successes, and lessons learned. It creates this continuous, unbroken loop of observation, intentional action, and reflection that steadily grows your character over time. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final provocative thought. Since you are quite literally the universe experiencing itself, and you have this incredible biological interface at your disposal, what reality must you accept today? What assumptions are you making? And most importantly, how will you use your awareness to purposefully reshape the world around you? Take that operating system and put it to work.